Welcome back to Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. So, do you want your band to evolve your favorite band, or would you rather they continue to splash around in their own primordial soup? Stay tuned.
It's like a take on the old Huey Lewis and the News thing. So it's hip to be dumb. It's hip to be dumb. Dun, 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 dun,
And everywhere.
It's true. We
So hip to
smart
be
people
dumb.
with all your smartness. It's hipper to be dumb. Like, isn't it more fun being dumb? It's like
Smarting is hard.
exactly. You gotta know things. And the things are hard to learn, so they're better to not learn.
Right.
Exactly.
And if you never learn, then you never have to evolve.
What's also great is that it's established in Family Guy lore that dumb people never die. It's true.
What?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about nothing, and you never die.
Well, you know what? I could really dig into that. But
You could dig into the bone of that.
yeah, totally. But there's topics we try to avoid on this program.
Yeah, it's true, but
Those topics do not include like porn midgets.
we actually that's like a freaking mascot of their show.
Right,
It's
totally.
the short stud.
Yeah,
Land of the
but
short
there are
studs.
some
We
topics we
established on
try
the
to
last
avoid.
podcast that's actually called Micronesia. It's the land of the short
Right,
studs.
yes. Yeah, the land of Micronesia, the sovereign nation.
Of the short studs.
Yeah.
El Presidente Luis Diaz.
But if they're all studs, are any of them studs?
It's a good question. That kind of makes it all not work. It's like there's no beauty without ugly, right? It's the same thing, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
There's like nothing. Like if nothing is vulgar, then everything's vulgar.
If everyone is short, though, isn't nobody short?
That's right, exactly.
So,
Man, we got into some deep philosophy there. Really quick.
We're gonna eventually find we're gonna die if we keep going this way. If we keep learning stuff, we should go back the other way. Where'd my corn trucks?
Yeah, but
Yeah, some corn trucks. Got some minerals and such.
This program brought to you by Corn Trucks.
Corn truck cereal, part of a complete breakfast.
That's right.
That's exactly right. It combines the most American thing possible, which is corn and trucks
And bacon.
Yeah. Is there bacon in corn trucks? I can't have it then.
Yeah, corn
No,
and bacon.
I want mine just corn trucks, just corn only.
Do you really think that corn trucks
Now
would,
with extra corn syrup.
do you really think that corn trucks would be like vegan or
It should
vegetarian?
totally be vegan, dude. Absolutely.
Well, then it wouldn't be corn trucks.
It's vegan corn chucks. Come on, there's dumb vegans. Come on.
Dude, nobody who's eating corn trucks would be a vegan.
Well, I'm vegetarian and I would eat corn trucks as long as there's only corn and corn syrup and
truck bars.
maltodextrose, whatever it is, and caramel color. As long as it's got all good nutritious ingredients like that,
and
I'm all
old
over it.
greasy carburetors.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. I don't know. It's a victimless crime eating dinosaur. Come on, it's fine.
Low-end carburetors.
Also, I always say with dinosaurs, get them before they get you, as the Jurassic World movies have taught us. You know what I mean? That's
Well, and I mean, your typical corn trucks customer probably believed that humans lived at the same time as dinosaurs.
what they got a museum that's on show that.
That's right.
So that's a fun thing. But yeah, apparently it's better to be dumb. That's the thing we need
Yes,
to
and of course we know that evolution's not real.
exactly.
Unless you're a musical artist sometimes.
I don't see any monkeys anywhere like,
Right.
talking or whatever. So there you go. Yeah.
Evolution's not real if you're AC/DC.
That's true. That's by the way, guys, welcome to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Ryan and Scott. And that was a very, very, very heavy-handed way to get into one of our main topics today.
that was a good segue,
Yeah,
huh?
it was good. So here's the question, though, and this is something I hear a lot. Is like, man, every album, like Yngwie is a good example of this. Like every album he does is exactly the same. Everything he does is the same. It's all the same. Everything's the same. You know what
not
I mean?
exactly though.
Yeah, pretty much. If you've heard Rising Forest, you've heard what Yngwie does.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
but he's also got like instrumental albums, and that's the difference.
Yeah, but they sound like the instrumental tracks off the Rising Forest.
There's a distinction. I think Yngwie is best when he's got a badass singer,
Yes.
and there are songs.
He needs Mark Bowles or Jeff Scott Soto or
Graham Bonnet.
Graham Bonnet or what's the guy that did Odyssey with
Mike Vicera.
No, Mike Sarah. I'm talking about
Joe Lynn Turner.
Joe Lynn Turner, yeah.
Yep.
He needs like a strong vocalist who can be kind of
Yeah.
a counterbalance.
He
That's for
needs
sure.
one of those guys.
But he hasn't changed really at all what he does.
No, well, actually, or he needs himself. He can sing.
Yeah.
Or whoever that keyboard guy on the side fill was last
and the bass
couple
player on the
times.
side fill and the drum on the Seinfeld.
He should just put the band like under the stage.
They should be like in a bubble somewhere hidden in the club or something. You know what I mean? And then we don't know where they are.
They should just plant the band back by the soundboard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then no one would notice. It's just that would make him so happy. Are you kidding me? You know,
He'd be so thrilled.
He would. But wait, people always say this though, like, you know, and I always think like, do we really want that? Do we really want like an instrumental, prog opus from AC/DC? This is our 15-minute,
Can you imagine
jazz
how that would sound?
Oh,
what would that even be?
That's what I'm saying. Like, no one wants AC/DC to not be AC/DC. This is the
including
biggest,
AC/DC.
This is the biggest fallacy that's ever been. Like, oh, this band hasn't evolved at all. You know, it's like no one wants that. When Motley Crue went grunge in the 90s, like nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted Motley Crue to evolve into a grunge band.
Well, I mean, you're sort of devolving.
You know what I'm saying, though? You want their musical direction to lead them toward grunge.
Yeah, you're not exactly moving forward.
Nobody wanted Def Leppard to go grunge on stage.
No.
You know what I mean? No one wanted that. You know what I mean?
personally didn't want anyone to go grunge.
Yeah, of course. Even the grunge artists, they should have stopped themselves. They should have somehow found a way, you know? But,
yes, Kurt should have found that shotgun much earlier in his life.
Oh my God, I guess they're going to put a museum piece around his van. I guess he had some van he drove around when he was in the clubs in the 90s.
So pathetic.
And there's going to be like a freaking whole museum piece based around Kurt Cobain's old van.
Why?
I don't understand it, dude. Like, what are we talking about? This guy was the most mediocre piece of shit ever. Why are we treating him like he's freaking, Mick Jagger or something?
I mean, it's a shitty van.
Well, it's a shitty musical artist who made crap music and killed rock music for that matter. So it's like,
well, him and Garth Brooks.
Well, he gets more of the credit. It's like 70-30 split on those ones. No, that we're not going to litigate this. I'm going to go on this podcast.
I'm going to go 60-40 at least.
But who cares is the question. Like, Kurt Cobain,
it was a coordinated hit job by the record company.
I didn't care when Kurt Cobain was alive. I don't care that he's dead. I don't care about his van.
I actually wish I didn't know all this now.
Yeah. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that we didn't want Motley Crue to aim in that direction. We want Motley Crue to be Motley Crue. We wanted Def Leppard to be Def Leppard. We didn't want Whitesnake and Rat to have to go into the wilderness for 25 years. You know what I mean? And
right. Okay.
We didn't want Metallica to make Load or Reload or Saint Anger. We didn't want any of that to happen. You know what I mean?
So the topic is. So is it a good thing when your favorite band evolves, or do you want them to just stay the same?
Well, here's the two cases in point I wanted to bring up. Two bands that are both massively successful and came out right around the same time. One we already talked about, which is AC/DC. The gold standard for not changing. And then I would say the other one is Rush, which is the gold standard for how to change and still bring your audience with you. You know what I mean? That Rush, every iteration of Rush was very different from the previous iteration of Rush, and that they still found a way to keep their audience and keep their audience engaged.
I think when like Power Windows came out, they lost a contingent.
But they gained a whole other group of people, though, when that happened, too. There's a bunch of more mainstream people who kind of got on board with Rush through that whole run. You know what I mean? From Power Windows through Moving Pictures to Permanent Waves and all that whole range of the 80s Rush, Hold Your Fire, those kind of things. That brought a whole other group of people into it. They got more song-oriented.
I think the divide for Rush fans is when Geddy Lee started playing synthesizers.
Yeah, to me, I don't get that. Because the songs they did, are you kidding me? The songs they did are amazing in that time period. I don't get that. Like the same with the Sammy Hagar Van Halen stuff. Like, okay, if it was terrible music, then sure, but it wasn't.
No,
it was great.
But, but David Lee Roth Van Halen rocks a lot harder.
That's not true, man. Go listen to Balkatherium. Go listen to Pleasure Dome. Go listen to Good Enough. Go listen to Get Up. Listen to freaking Source of Infection. Listen to, like, I keep laying.
I feel like it's a different band when Hagar. It's like it's Van
Here's
Hagar.
The thing, though. You can not like them if their music's shit, but their music wasn't shit. It was great.
No, I'm not saying. I mean, there's plenty of Van Hagar stuff that I dig. Right?
That was my entrance in the band was the Van Hagar era. But the
David Lee Roth era, the songs are just. I mean, they're young and hungry, and it's just. I don't know. I prefer the David.
Well, no,
Lee Roth
I agree
era.
with that. I think that they're younger for sure. The Roth era stuff, but I think that it's much more mature. The Sammy stuff. They're like Eddie's songwriting, his playing had evolved in a good way in a bunch of different places that he could have never done with Roth as the
There's
singer.
something a little more like sometimes the Van Hagar era veers like there's like the ballads and stuff. I mean they're great because it's Van Halen, but it's like you don't have the sappy fucking ballads.
Yeah, you couldn't with Roth. That's the thing, you couldn't, because Roth could never pull it off. Well, he's not a good enough singer to pull it off, but it goes against his whole attitude.
Right. And so there you nailed it. I prefer the aggressive attitude of David Lee Roth.
Well, his whole attitude is more like I'm gonna fuck your girlfriend kind of attitude, as opposed to Sammy is like a real dude, like you could go and hang out with, and you could imagine he would love somebody.
Yeah, well,
I can't imagine David Lee Roth ever loving someone or having someone love him back.
Oh well, I mean David Lee Roth Roth's a good dude. He was an EMT, and
I don't know about
he's,
that,
you
dude.
know, yeah, no, he was.
I mean, all right. Well,
His dad used to be an EMT, so he actually got his EMT's license and worked in an ambulance, like saving fucking lives.
I mean, that's fine and all. But,
You know,
I
there's
mean,
nothing wrong with David Lee Roth. He's just, you know,
he's kind of a douche, man. I gotta be honest with you. Everything I've ever heard about the dude is he's just
okay.
screams
Give
giant
us
douchebag.
a giant douchebag David Lee Roth anecdote.
It's just his attitude with like, the road. If you read the Noel Monk book,
No, I've not read.
have you read like the Running with the Devil or not that one? What's the other one? Van Halen Rising.
I've read very few. You know, what do you call them?
He's the kind of dude would like
you know,
scream at someone
blah,
for
blah.
touching his hamburger. And then he would like walk up and punch a roadie, that kind of thing. He was kind of that kind of dude. He wasn't like a cool guy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You know
so
what I mean?
he started buying his own bullshit at some point. Like, I can't you know, man, if you knew everything I did in my
but
20s,
here's the thing: Sammy though
I'm not
was
gonna-
very successful, but he still treat people like a human being. He's like a real dude. He's like a dude you could come up and have a conversation with.
yeah, I'm
Sammy,
not
I
saying
mean,
there's anything wrong with Sam. I'm not disparaging
Roth
Sammy.
is more like a character he created, and he doesn't know who he actually is as a human. You know, he's
well, I mean, that's what we think. But, I mean, he's a grown man now. I mean, he probably does now.
Everything I've read or every person I've talked to who's met him or know him has had the same kind of thing to say about him. You know what I mean? And
Well,
you
I
can
mean,
tell
he's
that. You
David
can tell
Lee
that.
Roth, he had to have the larger than life.
No,
you
I
know,
agree, man.
and he's
And
a singer in a rock band.
at one point in history, he was the greatest front man on earth. No
Right.
doubt. No doubt. There's no one can take any of that. And that definitely can't take that away from him for sure.
The only one who can take it away from him is Jim Dandy Mangrum.
He should take a lot of anger about that.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's funny. Someone was telling me like Jim Dandy. I guess there's some kind of internet meme that my teenage students are talking about.
Oh.
and they're mentioning Jim Dandy. I'm like, do you even know who Jim Dandy is? And
That's
they go,
fantastic.
Have you heard of the band Black Oak, Arkansas? This is what we're talking about.
Dude, that is the
no,
Southern rock
because they
band.
don't really know. They just know the name Jim Dandy.
No, I know, but if
It's
they know
like-
anything,
Yeah. But anyway, the point I'm trying
I
to make
actually,
those-
you know what, my buddy Jason, I had to actually, I had to text my buddy's text thread. You'll appreciate this because, like, I teach 3 of his kids just back to back to back, right?
Okay. You make them all stand in a line back to back to back.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
They stand in line as Graham Bonnet and
Hell
Kristen
yeah.
Pelletier taught us. Yeah, so.
That rocks, dude. What a great way to teach. Everyone should do
Right?
that. But stand in.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So I discovered that none of his kids knew who Eddie Van Halen was.
Oh, God.
So after their lesson, as any responsible adult would, I threatened to contact Child Protective Services.
Exactly. You know, these people look, almost reached adolescence and don't know this. So it's
They have reached
oh,
adolescence.
that's
Yes,
even worse.
they
Now
don't.
it's,
Yeah,
it's time to
so
bring the big dogs in now.
I mean that's pretty rough, right? I mean, you know, I love my buddy, but I mean, you have to look.
You got to do what you got to do.
But
man.
yeah, thank
there's
you.
right and there's wrong.
Yeah,
You
like
know
I
what
did
mean?
the right. I'm gonna do the right thing, right? You gotta contact CPS about that shit,
Exactly.
right?
They need to get into a detox where they have nothing but like all the Van Halen records just one after the other. Just like
Of course, yeah. Well, their listening project this week is Van Halen 1.
nice.
Yeah, doing the good work, man.
Well, here's the thing, though, and this is something that's pissed me off since I was a kid. Is like that, you know, having grown up with the Sammy era of Van Halen, and also, you know, with the Rush. My favorite Rush is also the probably Permanent Waves Forward. I'm not a big fan of the older stuff. I'm not. I don't hate it. I think it's good, but it's
Dude,
like
Fly By Night's so good.
I still prefer the 80s era Rush by far, up to like about the mid 90s. I love everything from like Permanent Waves to Counterparts. That's probably my favorite Rush right there. And that's, you know, and to me it still sounds like Rush. It just sounds like a more evolved Rush. It's a Rush where they're actually better at writing songs. They understand melodies better. They understand concise arrangements. The musicianship is still there. They still have the awesome playing. They still have the awesome arrangements. They've incorporated somehow Geddy Lee is like an octopus who can do like 6 or 8 things at once. You know what I mean? And it's just amazing
and pass
stuff.
down knowledge to younger generations, unlike real octopi,
Exactly, who just keep it all themselves, those sons of bitches.
which is why they don't rule the planet.
That's that one of the reasons.
Yep.
One of the reasons. They're also pacifists. People don't know that. It's weird.
So they're Buddhist
Yes, exactly.
cephalopods.
Exactly. They've got it all. Keep it to themselves. Keep it really quiet. All that one thing when they attacked the Golden Gate Bridge and they attacked, you know, that old footage that they had, the old movie where the octopus is attacking the Golden Gate Bridge. You never seen this?
Oh, is this like Sharknado kind of stuff?
No, this is like a Ray Harryhausen kind of time.
Oh, yeah. Man, I love Ray Harryhausen.
That was the one time they kind of let it slip a little bit, and they said,
Yeah.
"No, we're going back to our peaceful ways."
Dude, there's a documentary about him on Amazon Prime.
Dude, that's such a huge like legend in film. Oh my god,
Dude, there's another movie called it finally got released after like 30 years. It's called The Primevals.
Oh, okay.
It was like this passion project of this stop animation guy and Charles Band. Charles Band is the guy who runs like Full Moon Pictures, so like B grade. Like when you were a kid, you'd go to like the pharmacy and rent a horror movie.
Okay.
That was like Full Moon Pictures.
Yeah, back
right?
in those
So-
days, you actually rented a physical cassette of a movie. That was what we did. It was like a
Yeah, they're known for movies like Subspecies. It's like a vampire series, and there's another one called Puppet Master. You know,
I've heard of
where all
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like Full Moon Pictures, right?
Okay.
So anyway, something happened where like the footage was like locked up, you know, since like the 90s, right?
Just because it was too dangerous to let out. Is that what it was?
No, I guess like the budget, like they just couldn't get it finished, and so someone finally like got the funding together. Charles Band paid for it, and so some of the scenes between the cast were filmed back in the 90s, but then they shot some like now.
Okay.
Like I don't know how they got.
Did they work it into the
Yeah.
story that somehow then it's like 25 years later or something?
I don't know. Like so basically, like they get like the plot is these like explorers go up into the Himalayas and they discover to find the Yeti, but then they find all these other like creatures and shit, like Lost World type shit, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then they're all brought to life with stop motion animation, right? So it's finally available.
Oh,
right?
wow.
So you can find it on. I know it's on Shudder Channel, like my horror movie streaming service.
Yeah,
but it's I'm sure it's available like on Amazon or whatever. But
Okay.
yeah, good time, fun for the family.
Yeah, is that for the whole family? Really?
I mean, sure, why not?
Would Grandma like it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it might have been made when Grandma was in her prime.
That's true. She's like, those are good times.
Yeah.
But much like
anyway.
Mighty Octopus, Geddy Lee was a guy who could do it all. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but here's the thing: like, when it comes to that divide with the Rush fans thing, is like and I think AC/DC would have faced the same thing had they done something equally evolutionary. You know, but they didn't. They just stayed exactly the same. And so I guess you're really fucked either way. If you evolve, some contingent of your fan base is going to say like, "Well, that ain't real. That isn't mine, or that's not what I like, whatever." And that's their right to do that. If you don't evolve, if you stay AC/DC, you stay the same the whole time, then some contingent of your fan base is like, "Man, these fucking always stay the same. They never do anything different."
You know, some bands can evolve and some bands can't.
Are you trying to say that ACDC's lack of skill is the reason that they can't evolve?
Yes. And that's fine. I mean, dude, 2 monster albums, Highway to Hell and Back in Black.
Oh,
I
they've
mean,
got a lot of great
monster
albums, dude.
but I mean like monster.
Oh, you mean like top
must,
to bottom? Yeah.
like must listen, like
Yeah.
all killer, no filler.
There's a lot of great ACDC stuff though, man, over the years.
Well, there is, but and I love it when kids want to learn Thunderstruck. That's a great,
That was off of
The Razor's Edge.
Razor's Edge? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Isn't Money
cool, but-
Talks on that one too? I wanna say?
Yeah, Money Talks is
yeah.
on that one too. Yeah, but yeah. So I had a student this last year. He wanted to learn War Machine off the Iron Man soundtrack,
Oh, okay.
and I listened. It's just I mean, why listen to this when you can listen to Back in Black?
Because
It's just
he ties it back to the Iron Man thing. That's
no,
why,
I
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but I mean the song itself. It's just it was probably commissioned by Marvel Studios for the movie.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, our singer just died and here's our comeback album and we're
Yeah.
full of piss and vinegar and
Yeah.
no one thinks we can do it and we're going to prove
We're
them
gonna
wrong.
play the best album ever or whatever. Yeah.
No, it's Marvel hired us to write a song that's just like all our other songs.
Exactly. We want an ACDC song about Iron Man. That's basically it. Yeah, I get it. I mean, that's that's a strange thing too. Is that nowadays with a lot of young people, like it's not enough just to have a great song. It's got to be a great song that's associated with like a meme or a video game or a personality or a movie or a TV show. That's what really pushes that. It's not even the song itself. Like Master of Puppets is a great example. Great song, and they've been out since like '86, so it's been out for a while.
It's like there's so many other great songs on that album.
But at the same time,
I haven't
though,
really listened to the album.
But if you just played that for someone cold and they never heard of Stranger Things or whatever, and you just said, "Here, listen to this song," they're like, "Well, I don't really get it." But if you attach it to Stranger Things, like, "Oh my God, that's the greatest song ever! I have to learn that."
You know what? We need another season of Stranger Things to drop. Damn it! I hear they've had to like digitally de-age the cast.
Yeah, because they're like in their 20s now, mid 20s.
Right?
Yeah, but yeah, it's almost. But I wish they had that technology back in the 90210 days.
I wish I could like. Use
Why
that
is Dylan
technology-
47 years old?
I wish I could use that technology on myself in real life. Yeah.
But anyway, the point I'm trying to make though is that like if you took that away, like it wasn't attached to a TV show or it wasn't attached to Iron Man or something like that, they wouldn't care. The only reason they care is because it's attached to some TV show that they like.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about visual medium these days.
Exactly, but but for us back in the day, like Back in Black was obviously amazing because it was amazing. It's Back in Black. You know what I mean? That's killer record, and also rock and roll meant something then. You know what I mean? There's like an ethos to rock and roll. There's something
Yeah,
about,
well,
like,
again, Back in Black is the, like, we're not going to lay down and die. We're going to come back better than ever.
Yep,
right?
exactly right. Forget the
so,
first cousin never die. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But you know why?
So-
Because they were dumb. That's why they live forever.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, there's the famous Angus Young interview.
oi.
Well, that sounds like Udo Dirkschneider from
No,
Accept.
they've listened to TNT. They're like, oi.
Oh, yeah, they're the oys.
Oi. You know, it's like, and I could buy that. That seems
Okay,
like
I was
something that a drunken Australian would do, like on the weekend, like, oi.
I was thinking like the balls to the wall chant.
Yeah, it's similar.
Similar, yeah.
exactly. Same kind of thing. You actually argue there's a lot of similarities between Accept and AC/DC in terms of like the attitude and the ballsiness.
But I'd rather listen to new Accept stuff.
No, new Accept stuff's gotten way heavy though. I mean,
Yeah.
for sure. So
there's a way to,
anyway, back to Rush though, because like Rush totally evolved. Like from, if you look at like the early, the Fly By Night, the first album up through like the Crest of Steel, that whole thing. That's one iteration of Rush.
Right.
And then they get to like the next one. We start evolving a little bit. You get that Spirit of Radio, and that came out. Then they kind of moved into the Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures. Massive hit songs kind of period, right? And then in the '90s, they were kind of getting back to more basic, more guitar oriented, less keyboard stuff.
Dude, imagine like if we still lived in a world where Rush could have a hit song.
I know we did up till the mid '90s.
Yep,
Yeah, they could do that. But I mean, that brings me to another thing I want to talk about, which is what does it mean to be musically relevant? Because people here say they throw that around all the time, like, well, they have, Madonna hasn't been relevant since like 1990 or whatever. Metallica
answer.
hasn't been relevant since '85 or
I've
whatever.
got a simple answer.
Like, what does that even mean to be relevant? Like, what are we talking about?
One word:
Okay,
followers.
so you're talking about like TikTok?
Yep, just whatever, followers. That's what it means.
So wait, I don't get you.
It means you have to have followers. That's all that matters anymore.
So it's essentially about your social media, is what you're saying.
Yep.
So if you have social media followers, then you're important. You're relevant.
Yep.
That's terrible, horrifying. Well, and my thought was like, okay, it basically means that you're appealing to the least experienced, like the least people who know and have heard the least. That's what that means relevant. Like people like the sub 20 group.
Yeah,
that's the people who've got the least amount of experience of listening to music or understanding what things are.
Yeah. So those members of society, Scott, are known as followers.
Yeah, I guess so. But that being said, like, a band like Rush was making relevant music till they stopped making music. You know what I mean? That's to me, that's
irrelevant to their audience. I mean, yeah, they brought newer generations of music nerds.
Yeah, and then Metallica, same thing. Megadeth, Guns N' Roses, Whitesnake, Def Leppard. All these bands have brought in new generations of people. Iron Maiden, Priest. All these bands have brought in Ozzy Osbourne.
I'm glad you mentioned Priest. So Judas Priest is a great example of a band who evolved,
big time evolved. Actually,
but I love their old stuff. I love their new stuff.
Yep. And the middle period stuff's great too. I think my favorite Priest is definitely Defenders of the Faith through like probably Painkiller.
Yeah, Painkiller is so good.
That whole era, like Screaming for Vengeance, and stuff. And,
oh god, dude, hearing
that's classic Priest to me.
Yeah, dude, the Hellion and Electric Eye, like that changed my life.
Yeah,
dude. that definitely set the template for like the music I love and how I want to play. You know?
For me, as a guy who's coming from more of the pop world, and I was into like Van Halen and Whitesnake and Def Leppard, that's the band that gave me permission to like heavier and more complex bands. Because when I started hearing like you got Another Thing Coming and some Electric Eye and some of those tunes, thinking like, man, that's really cool. And I discovered them in like Queensryche around the same time. So we were hearing like Queen of the Reich and stuff, and so that kind of got me into like the more proggy / heavier sort of stuff, and that kind of opened my ears up to like Megadeth and bands like that too, and Metallica.
The great thing about Judas Priest is that from album to album, you can hear Glenn and KK getting better.
Yeah, especially by the 80s, they were totally shredding, dude.
Right, so they weren't just like, well, we had a hit with You Got Another Thing Coming, we'll do another album just like that. They're like, no, we're going to keep practicing and getting better.
We're going to do sweep arpeggios and diminished scales and stuff like that. Yeah, I know, because they kind of embraced the Yngwie thing. When that became a thing, they actually got on board with that. It wasn't like they just sat on like, well, this is what Priest does, we just do what we do.
Right, they didn't pull a Joe Perry.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Joe Perry being like jealous of Van Halen and trying to like talk shit about him and then undermine the band at all times. That was what I'm about.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but no, it's funny though. I mean, and then
Joe Perry like putting itching powder in Van Halen's dressing room.
Yeah, not as good as me.
I can just see him with like a mustache and a top hat.
Funny? Jimmy Page had some of that a little bit too. That when Van Halen came out, there's a lot of those I hate to say the old timers, but the people who were like from that previous generation, they really had a lot of chip on their shoulders about Van Halen, about how it's all flash and no feel. And
him playing all of those precise notes.
I know, and all the crazy techniques that he brought into the table that he could do all at once within one song, and every riff riff was amazing and like groundbreaking and interesting, and there was something cool.
They're
out
like,
there.
shit, I can't play that fast when I'm hammered. And he's like, fuck you, I am hammered.
Exactly. Imagine if I was sober, man. You wouldn't be able to freaking handle this. But I mean, that to me is we're getting off far afield at that point. But I think about relevant. Okay, a good example of Van Halen's Panama is in that new freaking was it Toyota commercial or whatever for the Super Bowl.
Well, it's been licensed. I mean,
What I'm trying to say is that only it's not relevant because that they can still use it to sell Toyota trucks during the Super Bowl. Then it's still relevant.
Well, to
You know?
people who can afford that truck who were alive when Van Halen was initially
yeah,
relevant.
but here's the thing that's cool about Panama, dude, is Panama means the same thing now that it did in 1984. It means exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah, dude, let's
Yeah.
rock. It means the same thing now that it did then.
Right,
So,
and now it's being used to sell stupid-ass Toyota trucks.
it would have been then, too. Come on, let's not pretend like the 80s was some
No,
kind of,
not
like,
back then.
wonderful-
Dude, I went to the grocery store the other day, and they were playing Rainbow in the Dark when
Yeah.
I walked in.
I told you, like-
to Rayleigh's.
That same thing. I was at Rayleigh's. I heard "We Rock," and
Yeah, it just-
followed by "And the Cradle Will Rock" by Van Halen.
Yeah, you know what? Like, if I were a kid, I would have thought that was rad. But like now, I hate it.
Like, makes you sad or something.
Well, because it's
These
just-
old people like rock music. This sucks.
Yep,
You know, I know.
absolutely, man. It'd be yep. Dude, we're the old people now.
You know
And
what?
Somehow,
Speak for yourself, man. Not me. I'm young. I'm with the kids or whatever they say. I don't know what they say.
yeah, man. Schnoogans.
I'm totally down with the kids.
Okay,
You know, and
whatever you say,
whatever,
Scott.
man. And TikToking and whatnot.
Yeah, so since this is an audio only program, you can't see Scott's wearing his baseball cap backwards.
Exactly. Got my chains and stuff. I'm totally fly, yo. Whatever was popular, like probably 2010 popular. Sorry. Whatever Justin Bieber was doing in like 2012, that's what I'm doing now.
Yo,
So
I'm
I can
not
stay
whack.
No, I actually, it was funny. I reached the age where I thought all new stuff was bullshit when I was like 19.
I remember those days. I know.
I remember feeling that way, like, wow, this is all lame.
I was
Everything's
there.
terrible now. You know what I mean? Yeah, we were both there. So it's like I was a young early adopter of hating the new thing.
So we ourselves refuse to evolve.
Exactly. Well, no, I evolved to like to the point where like awesome stuff happens, and then if you tell me this terrible thing is awesome, I was like, no, that's terrible. I have something called discernment, and you can't
Yes.
tell me bullshit is good. It's terrible.
Dude, don't tell me that hard-boiled eggs taste good.
And also, don't tell
Don't
me you
do
love
it.
me. Don't tell
Right.
me. I don't want to know.
You don't want to know.
Don't tell me Sabrina Carpenter's awesome.
Hey, you know what? Espresso is not a bad pop song.
I'm just
It's
trying to
got
think
a good
of
little
I'm trying to think
melody.
of well, come on,
At least
you're
it
being,
grooves.
You're being so generous just because she's hot and you had no shot at her, Ryan. So just stop, okay?
No, what? Dude, I'm not like pining for Sabrina
She's
Carpenter.
like so talented, dude. I feel like I could totally imagine like hanging out with her
I
all
didn't
the
say
time.
she was so talented. I don't know what her actual voice sounds like because I'm sure it's auto-tuned. But
she isn't writing in the music either.
But for the producer who came up with like the kind of dancey, fun Latin
We've already
thing,
made this on this podcast before. It's just
at least it's not just like a 1-5-6-4 chord progression.
I'd rather hear
know?
that played by guitar players than actually whatever she's doing.
No, I
You
think
know?
there is a guitar in it. It's sort of like a 2-5 thing, but it's
buried
fun.
if it's in there. I don't know. It's,
We're gonna have to listen to that on this program.
well, okay, she's an avatar for all other mindless pop music. That's what I'm trying to say. That's just,
dude, I'm just saying among the garbage.
you know what's
it's pretty
relevant
good.
is garbage pop music is super relevant.
It always is.
Yeah, I mean that's not true though.
So-
Back in the day, like Van Halen, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Metallica, Megadeth were all totally relevant. Had massive
Yeah,
extreme
again,
Rush.
yeah,
I mean,
I
AC/DC.
know, and then
they
there
were
was,
relevant
like-
and had
yep,
the goods. Led
I
Zeppelin
know,
was really
yep.
relevant at one point. You know, Hendrix was really relevant at one point. Ozzy Osbourne really relevant at one point.
True, and they
You know
were,
what I mean?
but I
Michael
wouldn't-
Jackson, Prince. You know,
Okay, there we. I was going to
mean,
say most of those bands
you know,
I wouldn't qualify as pop music.
no,
right?
but
So-
popular music that had it was in the zeitgeist. You know what I mean? And yeah, there's just because there is no rock music that's in the zeitgeist now. That's hard to. There's no modern equivalent to that. You know what I mean? It's so I guess you can really reach and say like Maroon 5 or something. You know, is like a band that's kind of sort of pop rock adjacent, sort of maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just.
I don't know. You know, I can't really like criticize Maroon 5 like
Oh,
musically,
it's so
but
easy. I can criticize them.
But man, I just feel like such an asshole listening to it.
Yeah, exactly. And
I
the
feel
music
like-
is just not great either. It's
I
just,
feel like
you know,
if I were really fired up about about this, that would mean I was an asshole.
No, that's actually a really rich topic. Why do you feel that way? What about Maroon 5 makes you fucking asshole? I hate them because I think they're objectively terrible.
No,
but
I mean, it's just like we had that episode about like nepo babies and like rich kids.
Oh, is he a nepo baby, the lead singer guy?
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
Dude, his parents are like rich lawyers. And,
I had no idea.
Yeah, you
sounds about right though.
So I mean,
look,
all
the tattoos and stuff. So
look, if you're a rich kid who won the genetic lottery, then okay, great, you get to be a music star.
Yeah,
great.
Do you think that's what it is?
Like, I don't care.
But that being said, though, if you don't have something, I don't care how rich your parents were, if you don't have something there, then you're not going to become a star. You can't force people to think you're like Paris Hilton didn't become a massive star.
You can have like a fast metabolism and have like maybe like a 1-octave range voice.
No, that's what I'm trying to. His voice is just so terrible too. Oh my God, is it terrible?
No, it's probably auto-tune too.
I mean, it's just awful. But that means, I mean. Then there's a guitar part in that band, and it's funny. I hear it, and I can barely hear any guitar in their music. I'm like, okay, why is there this guy James Valentine, who apparently is a good player? Like,
Yeah,
why are they even having in the band? Like, they don't even need that. Same with Imagine Dragons. Like, why they have a guitar player?
I don't
There's no
understand.
guitar in that music. Why is there a guitar player on the stage? You know what
I don't
mean?
understand Imagine Dragons at all.
You know,
like I've imagined.
I see those bands as similar, like they're kind of that same sort of style of pop music.
I've imagined more dragons listening to Dio.
Thanks for listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Ryan and Scott. Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Now back to the show. I figure like
than I ever have.
And if you
Imagine
Dragons, wouldn't there be a lot more screaming and running and fire? That seems like that would be if you Imagine Dragons. That's what
I mean, I can't see like Vermithrax Pejorative like getting down to Imagine Dragons.
Nah, I can't at all imagine that.
It's a great name. Next pet we get, I think that's gonna have to be the pet name.
It's almost as good as Yngwie Malmsteen.
No pet name will ever be as good as Yngwie J. Malmsteen.
He unleashes the furry.
Yeah, dude, you should see my leg,
so
man. It's my leg's been shredded.
Well,
he's unleashed the furry on my leg.
You knew what you were getting into on that one.
No, I know, but he really like when I say he shreds, he really does shred.
Does. It's true. Yeah. Well, as by his namesake, you have to. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What are we saying basically? So, do we want our bands to evolve? I think in the case of Rush, you can argue that evolution is a good thing.
If the band
evolved in
evolve.
Interesting and new ways, and you look at a band like AC/DC, they didn't evolve at all, and that also is fine because I don't think anybody really wants AC/DC to become like a prog band or something.
You know what? So for a band like AC/DC, like if you want to get the like feel and vibe or like the spirit of the best AC/DC, listen to Airborne.
Oh, I mean the new band Airborne. Yeah.
Well, I found out about him in like 2007.
Yeah, but you mean not like there's not a song from AC/DC called Airborne. It's a new band, so people don't know.
It's a band. Yeah, it's a band called Airborne.
Yeah.
Yep. I think they're Australian.
They kind of like a mix of like AC/DC meets like Motorhead sort of ish.
They're almost exactly like AC/DC. Okay. It's like if AC/DC like were young and hungry and full of piss and vinegar and would fuck your girlfriend, then that's who Airborne is. They're awesome.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Well, that's
a band you gotta check out.
But I mean, here's the question though: would we accept AC/DC? Had AC/DC? I mean, I guess maybe you can argue songs like "Money Talks" were kind of a pop-oriented song. Maybe wasn't there? There's another one they did. Kind of poppy.
You Shook Me is the one that I enjoy teaching that song because there's like stuff for the beginning guitar player to learn.
Well, that's all of AC/DC right there.
But I mean, it's probably my least favorite AC/DC song.
Well, I mean, I guess did they get any backlash for that from the fan base when they did like Money Talks or they did like You Shook Me All Night Long? Like I'm trying to was that?
I don't know.
That's still pretty on brand for AC/DC. Those songs. It's not like they were like going off and saying I love you and I want to share my soul.
Totally. It's not like
that'd be weird if Brian Johnson like I love you.
Wait, can you imagine Brian Johnson singing a power ballad?
I know exactly.
Or Bon Scott before him.
Yeah, exactly. It would never work. Same as David Lee Roth. The reason that they never did a power ballad with David Lee Roth is like that would be so not on brand for him.
So you know that's growing up, I loved bands that were ballad proof.
You mean like they could do a ballad and
that they didn't do ballads? Like I used to hate fast forwarding through the stupid
great ballads
ballad.
Though, dude. There are great ballads.
Skid Row's got a bunch.
Yeah, Skid Row's got a bunch. Whitesnake's got a couple. They're really great.
Whitesnake's got some good ones.
Def Leppard's got a couple of great ballads. Bring On the Heartbreak. Come on, you can't argue about that. That's great.
I don't think of Bringing On the Heartbreak as being really a ballad. It rocks too hard.
It's definitely a ballad. I would say it's
It's not like Wait by White Lion. Like I can't stand that song.
That's a great tune, man. I love love Wait.
The solo's great, but
The rhythm
just,
guitar is a killer in that song
dude,
too, man.
just give me the Vito Bratta part without the
Headed
Mike
for
Trent
Heartbreak
part.
by Winger is fucking badass, dude. That's great.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but that rocks a lot harder too. It's not like a sappy lame ass ballad.
Is this Love by Whitesnake? I mean, come on, that's
got one of the best guitar solos of all time.
I mean,
in it,
I'm just
right?
naming a bunch of great ballads. So that's like I argue the ballads.
I remember on my
House of Pain by Faster Pussycat's a great song, dude.
it's good, but I've had enough of it. There's other
You've pushed away from the table. You're like, okay.
yeah, there's other Faster Pussycat shit.
I'm just saying that's a great song though. That's not a bad song.
It's pretty good, but yeah, there's
Phantom
other.
Rider by Tora Tora. That's a great tune. Yeah,
Yeah, but I'd still rather listen to Walking Shoes.
that's a great song too. I mean, I'm not arguing one or the other. I'm
So
saying
it's
that
like
there
when
are
I-
great ballads on all those albums. Yeah.
Like I remember, like when I was a
fucking
kid.
Heaven from Warrant. That's a great song. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd rather listen to a whole host of other Warrant songs.
But you know what I'm saying though? It's not a bad song though. It's not like that's terrible.
No, I'm not saying
you
it's a
know?
bad song. I'm just saying that like 12.
Oh my God! More Than Words from Extreme.
I mean, I like it, but I'd rather listen to He-Man Woman-Hater.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, that being said, it's still great. You know, and
it's fine. I'd like Wholehearted's better.
yeah, Whole Ride's a good song too. I mean, I love, but I'll take freaking Watching Waiting. That's a deep cut. I don't know if you know that
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
That's a great song. You know what
So
I mean?
like I remember as a kid, like fast forwarding through the ballad, and then my cassette tape would get warped.
I always loved the ballads when I was a kid. I always thought those were great because there's like some emotional playing. I remember I Still Think About You from Danger Danger. That was a really cool song. I remember I'm not sure if
have
you know.
to review that, but I'd rather listen to Naughty Naughty.
I mean, I'd rather listen to a whole bunch of other ACs, but I like those too, though. It's like
Okay,
to me,
you
it was
know-
like part of the package. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, this is great. You know, I
you
like
know
this,
who
yeah.
had great fucking ballads? Vinnie Vincent Invasion.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
that time of year is fucking epic.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands from that time period that had great ballads. I mean, I'm just standing up for the ballad. Not that it's my favorite song on the album, but sometimes
Ooh,
it
and
was.
Love Kills. That's a great. You know what? I know Vinnie Vincent's been kind of a douche over the years,
Mm-hmm.
but those Vinnie Vincent Invasion albums, like Vinnie
Yeah.
Vincent's a great songwriter.
Oh, I mean,
Fuck.
Reason to Live by Kiss is a great song. That's speaking
Yeah,
of a good ballad.
Okay,
I
the
mean,
Kiss ballads were
yeah.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I
and-
mean, and Holly Knight wrote some of the stuff. Like, so those.
Oh my
yeah.
God, Alone by Heart. That's a great song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and see, those all rock a lot harder than
Yeah, there's an element, but there's like that starts off with like the delicate piano and stuff, and then it rocks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
like honestly, by Stryper can go in the toilet.
Yeah, but there's good and bad example. I'm just I wouldn't paint with a broad brush. Is all I'm trying to say. There's a lot of great ballads. You know what I mean? And
But still, no matter how great the ballad is, not all, but most of the time, I'd fast forward through that song, and then my cassette tape would get warped.
Dude, I
and then I'd have to get
remember-
another one, and
there's also like think about like you have Uncle Tom's Cabin from Warrant, which is badass.
that's not a ballad.
But right after that, you had I Saw Red, which is a ballad. And it was great.
That's not a ballad.
I Saw Red's totally a ballad. What are you
It
talking
starts
about?
off as kind of a ballad, but then it becomes a full-on rock song. That's a hard rock.
That was kind of the way things went back then, though. You know, you have like it would be like a ballady, and then it would kind of rock a little bit, and then, like Angel from Aerosmith's like that. It's a ballad, but then it kind of really gets a little heavier.
ugh.
Yeah, well, there's a whole host of Aerosmith ballads that came in.
So
the 90s,
Aerosmith's a
you know?
band that devolved.
Yeah, well, there's some good stuff though on all the records. There's something you can point to on almost every record
Dude,
up to
all-
about like '95, where they were actually making some real music. You
Like
know what I mean?
I think Pump is probably the last good.
No, what's the one
Aerosmith
after? Get It
album.
Grip's got some good stuff on it too. So it's, I don't think it's like it's not a dead zone like where that after Get It Grip though. Then you're on your own. I don't think
You
there's
can,
anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can hear them wither.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know these ballads for these Michael Bay movies. We got to start cranking these
fuck
guys out.
that.
And,
Yeah, God,
yeah.
Armageddon's such a stupid ass movie.
But I mean, that's kind of what they kind of started chasing that a little bit and became less about like we're a rock band. You know what I mean? In the early '90s, when Aerosmith was like was kind of coming, like have Permanent Vacation and Pump, which were two big kick ass albums back to back. They kind of were getting back to the height of their powers by like the early '90s, right? The Wayne's World era kind of thing. And then I think they just started chasing like the movie songs after that, and that's that was their undoing. You know what I mean?
So okay, here's another band. So Guns N' Roses.
Okay, that is another band.
That is
You're
another
right
band.
about that.
And like I think some people think they evolved. I think they devolved.
You mean like when they went to like Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 and stuff?
Yep, Guns N' Roses has only one good album, and it's Appetite for Destruction.
And then smattering of other decent songs beyond that.
They have
Yeah.
no other good albums.
No, they're good albums. I'll agree with that. But they have smattering of good songs on some of the subsequent releases. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
but-
Metallica. Metallica kind of stopped being Metallica. you
Yeah,
know.
we've talked
I
about
would
that
argue
a
the Black
lot.
Album, but you would argue the And Justice for All.
Yeah,
but after
yeah.
that, there's
We
still
know how I
even
feel
on
about
Load
that.
and Reload. There's some decent songs scattered across those.
Until It
albums.
Sleeps is kind of cool.
There's was it the 4-leaf clover or whatever?
No, no, no.
No
They-
leaf clover. No leaf clover. I guess it is.
Okay, yeah. I wish they had.
There's a few good songs on those.
I wish
albums,
they
yeah.
had never covered Whiskey in the Jar.
If they had like not.
I hate hearing Metallica play that song. Everyone should listen to Thin Lizzy if they want to hear that song.
Yeah, well, the same's true with the freaking the one they covered from oh my god, like that was it with the Bob Seger song they covered.
Oh, Turn the Page?
Yeah, they should never have done that either.
No, never.
That's
It's-
terrible.
yeah, so anyway,
Yeah.
so we all know how I feel about metal.
But that being said, like if you had like not released those two albums, Load and Reload, and let's say you just took like the 5 best from each of those, you could have had like a halfway decent another Metallica album if you had just done that. You know what I mean? So I will give them credit for there's still decent Metallica the after Black Album era. That's sort of what you still have a smattering of stuff that's
I think the trick is to.
they just ran out of gas. It feels like, doesn't it feel like they just ran out of gas?
Well, yeah, because Cliff
Yeah.
died.
Well, I mean, partially.
Cliff was the gas.
Yeah, well, and Dave. Gotta give Mustaine some of the early
Right.
part of the career thing.
Yeah, they forced out the brains.
yeah.
The brains of the operation got forced out.
So I'm guessing Lars is like the large intestine in this situation, in this analogy.
yeah,
Kirk is definitely the bowel.
Kirk is like the appendix or some other vestigial organ.
Vestigial organ. He's the gallbladder of Metallica.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. He can be removed. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the trick is being able to like iterate. on...
Queensryche's another good example. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut that.
No, that's all right. Well, I mean, so
Yeah.
Queensryche's been able to iterate on their sound.
Well, once they
right?
removed
They're
the
true to-
malignancy from that band, once they removed the Jeff Tate malignancy from that band, then they actually got back on track again after that. You know what
But
I mean?
Jeff Tate was a great vocalist.
He totally was. Back in his prime, he was untouchable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. And,
totally.
and they made amazing music with them
Yep.
from the EP all the way up through, I guess, Promised Land.
Yep.
That's amazing, untouchable music for sure.
Yeah.
But everything Promised Land until they did the self-titled with Todd La Torre, everything between that was complete hot garbage. And they evolved into, I don't even know what that was. They had said Queensryche, but I didn't know what was going on musically.
It's called Pag Pag.
Pag. What does that mean?
It's a street food in Thailand that's made from like
What a deep cut, Ryan. I'm impressed.
well, I'll tell you how I. Well, Misty will fucking kill me if I tell you all this. So, it's a street food in Thailand that's made from like food that gets discarded in the dumpster.
Okay.
So people go scavenge food out of the dumpster, and then they cook it into this dish that they call Pag Pag,
Okay.
and then eat it. So imagine going like
Is
back.
it like just a fun thing to do? Is it like is
Well,
that
I mean,
what they
I'm
do
sure
when
it's-
they go on Pinterest? They have like the tag like pages.
I'm sure it's poverty related.
Oh, okay.
Right,
It's not just it's like the cool thing the influencers are doing. Like, oh, dude, it's totally awesome to eat garbage.
no, it's like So it's called. Well, so I was giving Misty shit because she got into magnet fishing,
okay. Is that what you fish for magnets?
where you like put a magnet on like a fishing pole and then like throw it into like a body of water,
For the purpose of catching fish?
and then like metal sticks to the magnet, like scrap and
Why?
refuse
What's the
and
purpose of that?
Fuck, I don't know. Man.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Is there enough like you get I don't know.
I've been
Enough
teasing her
ferrous
about
metals
it.
in there that okay.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess if you don't have enough like junk and garbage in your life,
Yeah, I guess you could always find like an old abandoned like 50-gallon drum that has like a mob hit body inside or something. That might be kind of metal to find that.
No, Scott. No, you couldn't.
You couldn't.
Definitely never try that.
Okay, I won't bring it up again. Thank you for letting me know that.
All right, this has been a public service announcement. Anyway, so moving on to other topics.
But no, Queensryche's a band that evolved. So if you look at like after even Promised Land was an evolution from Empire.
So I think the trick is to like you have to continue to iterate on like what makes your sound awesome.
Yeah, and
Without completely losing it.
yeah,
right?
what makes you? What makes you sound
Yeah,
you, you know?
absolutely.
And I think that's one of the reasons Rush worked, because Rush, even though they evolved, they still sounded like Rush. It's like a
Right.
different version of Rush, but still you can see that's Rush. It's almost like watching a little kid grow up to like an adolescent and a 20-something and a 30-something.
And that's how you feel that you get to know the members of the band through the authenticity of the music they create.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not about going to their stupid fucking Instagram or seeing them like front a reunited version of Nirvana.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Or the freaking Blink-182.
Or showing up in my fucking video game.
Yeah,
or
it's-
having tattoos all over your face.
Yeah, Jelly Roll looking at you.
Oh, actually, I was talking shit about Post Malone.
I know, but but we've been, it's been well-tread territory.
Well, I was alluding. So, so that's the thing. So I think that's a part about Rush that maybe isn't as recognized, right? I think the fans feel like they know the three guys in the band.
Oh, they've
personally.
invested for 30 years, a lot of them, and then they bring their kids and their grandkids into the mix and say, hey, check this band out. This band's amazing.
I mean, great authentic music should speak of who created it and where that person came from and all of that.
That kind of music sells itself too. You don't have to be a totally hip hop and fresh TikToker or Instagrammer to do that sort of thing. You can just like, hey, this is great music.
Well, that music used to sell itself.
Well, it does, because
sometimes
I can tell you right now, if you go to like an Iron Maiden show or a Def Leppard show or one of these like legacy bands that have been around, you look in the audience, it's like about 50-50. It's like 50% like old school fans have been there from the beginning, and the 50% they brought their kids and their grandkids, and their kids and their grandkids are not there because they hate this band. And I'll go, grandpa's dragging me to the show. They're going because the bands are awesome. I love Iron Maiden.
I mean, Iron Maiden knows how to do the live spectacle too.
So do all the bands.
Their live shows are like,
but they're
legendary.
passing that down to the next generation. So there's a generation of people who are discovering those bands organically through their parents and grandparents and stuff. I see it all the time with my teaching practice. People come in like they're way into like these older bands that where I was a little kid when they came out. You know what I mean? And they're just like a 14-year-old who's just discovering Journey or something. And it's like, man, this band's so great. If you heard this band, Megadeth. I'm like, yeah, of course I've heard of Megadeth. How did you hear about Megadeth?
Right.
It's like weird. So that stuff that's still finding its way to people. That's not the Instagram, TikTok sort of YouTuber influencer and pointed stuff. And I think that that's something that is going to always be there. I think those bands that have that authenticity are always going to find its way to an audience. Now, that's really almost exclusively the territory of like the legacy bands. I think newer bands will have an almost impossible time.
Like, building a new audience, it's a whole
because there's not that multi-generational attack. It's almost like like an old movie friend, like say James Bond or Star Wars or whatever. It's like it's been around for 50 years. Like my parents and grandparents and great grandparents know about this. They passed it down. You know what I mean?
And the thing that bums me out is that if you're a young person getting into Iron Maiden. Like, your parents aren't going to hate it.
No, they're going to love it. Like, dude, you should go check out Seventh Son. Have you heard this song?
Yeah, that fucking sucks.
Well, it doesn't in a way. It's a different time. Because when we were kids, and this is something that for anybody under 20, this is not going to make any sense to you. Like, rock music was still, like, dangerous and underground.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was, like...
The dangerous part. It wasn't really underground, but
it was definitely, like, considered, like, not, like, what classy people don't like this music.
Stuff like punk was underground.
No, I mean, underground in the sense that, like, respectable people didn't like metal. You know what I mean? It wasn't, like, respectable to be a metal fan.
I mean, rock music got played on the radio.
Your freaking like substitute teacher and like a vice principal at school did not listen to metal. You know what I mean? That was not considered.
It didn't matter how hot for teacher you were.
Yeah, she was not listening to metal, unfortunately. But until she got really drunk and slutty in the video. Oh wait, that's just a video. Sorry. Damn it, that didn't actually happen. Damn. But anyway, no, it was considered like a dangerous subculture in a way, like back in those days. Like Ozzy Osbourne was the metal madman, and people were protesting his concerts
Satan.
and stuff. That and also
bring back Satan,
alcohol, drugs, sex, that kind of. It was
Satan,
and that's part of it for sure. But I
just like saying Satan.
Okay, I respect that.
Such a great name.
I just think that like it was a thing. So nowadays, like the people who are the vice principal and the bank, the guy who runs the branch of the bank and the guy who's in charge of the.
You mean like Danny McBride?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying all the people.
Vice principal.
You know what I'm saying? Like the people in the wheels of power now are people who grew up listening to Ozzy Osbourne and Metallica and Megadeth and Guns N' Roses. So that's not going to shock them. I remember thinking for years when I was like in my 20s, like, what are my kids going to listen to? I grew up listening to like metal, and it's like, what are they going to listen to? It's going to freak me out. How could they get much more dark than like freaking Megadeth and
Air Supply?
Well, no, like worse, like no music. It's just EDM or like pop princess kind of stuff or rap and hip hop. That's what they did. But we're just going to get rid of the music part. We're just going to do this,
or new country.
Well, I will take, as I established before, I would take new country over pop princesses, hip hop, or EDM any day of the week. Because there's actual musicians playing that music.
I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have to like Clockwork Orange you into a theater seat and just play like
I had
12
to transcribe.
hours of.
Literally yesterday, I transcribed a Kenny Chesney Chesney song, top to bottom, including
fuck.
including the guitar solo, which was actually pretty good. So
dude,
and there's
so sorry.
there are real guitar players playing real parts on those
I'm
albums.
so sorry.
That's
We
something
can- we
you
can
can't
talk
say
about
about
it.
like the pop princess world.
Yeah, but you
Cardi
have to-
B does not have a guitar player. In that
Okay,
band.
but you have
Yeah.
to listen to Kenny Chesney say stupid shit.
Well, that's a given. You know that's going to happen.
Yeah,
but-
I'll pass.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
can't-
I'd rather listen to a real guitar player and a real guitar solo and with a real guitar.
I'll tell you
parts.
what, no, but you know what? Like,
Obviously produced by guys who know how to produce records,
Yeah,
by
that's
real
fine.
pro musicians. You know
but
what I mean?
dude, that genre stole more rock fans than rap and hip hop ever did.
No, there's no doubt about that but that's rock's fault. That's not country's fault. Rock decided we are not going to be about having a good
It's
time
the
anymore.
record company's fault.
Well, no, then the bands all just jumped on board too. It's not like that's Motley Crue making a grunge record was not the record company's fault.
Yeah,
You know?
it was.
No, it wasn't. It was Nikki Sixx thinking I got to jump on the new
trend was the trend was driven by the record companies and MTV.
If Motley Crue wanted to be what they were doing, they could just put out let's go find an indie record label and let's put out a kick-ass Motley Crue record.
Well, they were chasing the trend, but the trend was created by record labels and MTV.
But they didn't have to go down that path if they didn't want to. They were Motley fucking Crue,
They
man.
probably
They
could
had,
just fucking retired.
yeah, they have a fan base. They could have just kept making kick-ass Motley Crue records. You know what I mean? They didn't have to go follow that trend, but they did.
Yeah, no,
and
you know.
that's all those. Metallica didn't have to go, that way. They didn't have to say, "Hey, we're not going to put guitar solos and we're going to make everything sound terrible." They didn't have to do that. They could have just made another kick-ass Metallica.
Well,
album.
actually, that might be all that Metallica was capable of at that point.
Yeah, that's a good point. That might be true.
Right.
But
And I mean,
Def Leppard did not have to put out an album with grunge tendencies, trying to sign Stone Temple Pilots back in those days. You know what I mean? It's
No,
like,
I mean,
there's no reason they could have just made another kick-ass Def Leppard album. You know what I mean? But
I mean, Adrenalize is fine, but it's not.
Well,
Hysteria,
Adrenalize
and
was
it's-
still
and
in
it's
the-
not Pyromania.
no, it's not. It's still a good record though. But that was right at the end of that whole time period.
Yeah,
That
so
was,
like, dude, as soon as I remember being so disappointed seeing the music video for "Let's Get Rocked."
yeah, it was pretty terrible. Yeah.
With like the cartoony digital fucking, I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
Well, that was already them moving away from us, dude. That's what that was. They were moving to the next
Like,
generation.
I think they were trying to get all family friendly.
Well, they're trying to get like the 12, 13-year-olds. And we were like, what, 18 at that
Yeah.
time, 19 or something? So like
man,
we were already not cool
year-olds
anymore.
out there just ruining shit.
Well, that's why they did that, is they're trying to catch that. And even the lyrics, I'm an ordinary, clean my room, whatever. It's like, of course, that's like a 13-year-old.
Yeah, like, where's Macaulay Culkin?
I don't want to clean my room either. I'm just like Def Leppard. It's like we're like, what are we talking about? No, we're about the songs about chicks and stuff. What
about you? What about like everybody's rocking out in the house like drunk off their asses, right?
On
Saturday
Wednesday or
night,
something.
high and dry,
or wasted. Yeah. That's
Right.
great. No, I agree. But I mean, they didn't have to go chase that either. They eventually kind of got, oh wait, we're Def Leppard. We should just do Def Leppard things, and they kind of came back around to it. Motley Crue never really kind of came back around to it. They kind of just lost their way.
Saints of Los Angeles is not a bad album.
It's not. I haven't listened to it.
Yeah, you should check it out.
The stuff I've heard
it's a return to
great,
form.
so,
Like,
okay.
I mean, Saints of Los Angeles, the tune's pretty fucking rad.
Okay, well, good. That's good.
Like, that album's not bad. If they had released Saints of Los Angeles instead of
Generation Swine.
instead of Generation Swine, that would have been great.
Yeah, I don't get that. I think that just shows you like the attitude. Like, I can't imagine Rush putting out a grunge record, or
Well, they couldn't make themselves play that bad.
exactly. But I mean, dude,
Can you imagine Neil Peart like saying to himself, "Man,
I'm going to play slightly out of time.
How can I suck?"
Yeah. Well, I guess that's true, but I mean, I know there's certain bands that they have a certain standard that they have to stick to, and I think that evolution of a band, everyone bitches and moans either way. If you evolve, then they bitch that you don't sound the same. If you stay the same, then they bitch that you always sound the same. You don't.
Again, I think Judas Priest doesn't suffer from that.
No, I think Rush, Judas Priest is two examples that did it successfully.
I think Whitesnake too. I mean, they continue to evolve.
That's true, and it was,
but
but they had the same like naysayers though. The people when they started moving into more of the metal territory, and then the blues people were like, "Well, this doesn't sound like Zeppelin, or it's not Zeppelin. It sounds too heavy. We're trying to be like Ozzy Osbourne or something like that." They're moving in more of the metal territory. Whatever, maybe it's because of my generation. Because like when I found Whitesnake, they already were in the metal kind of thing. They were already had slided in '87. That was my introduction to White. I didn't even realize they were a band before that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
So
yeah.
and so
Yes, had you been British,
exactly.
you would have known.
If I had known the UK and Europe, they've been playing since like the mid '70s there. But and same kind of thing. What's their band? I was just thinking of those is like that too. Oh, it's Scorpions is like that. Scorpions is a band like if you just know their massive hits, like it's like Blackout Forward. That's all the Scorpions ever were to you.
Right. But there's all the Uli John Ross
and
stuff.
the Michael Schenker Love Drive stuff, and
So that's a good example. So would you say that they evolved or devolved?
I think from a songwriting perspective, they totally evolved. They figured out how to really make the songwriting very streamlined. It was just straightforward, hard rocking, great riffs, great hooks. killer solos. They didn't really lose anything. They just kind of streamlined it, if that makes sense. I don't think there's anything about the 80s Scorpions that they lost from the 70s. I think they just streamlined. It got heavier. It was like more metal, and it was more sort of like streamlined. That's my
But
opinion.
the early stuff is so fun to listen to.
It's cool. I don't dislike
cool.
it. The Tokyo Tapes is great, man. There's all kinds.
Yeah, like dude, like hearing like Yuli on Pictured Life, like just ripping
Great.
in with that solo. It's fucking
But
great.
the songs are not as focused. You know what I mean? They're not like there's not like you can't. There's not the big city.
but they're proggy though.
Yes,
right?
they're definitely. It's just not
You know?
focused, and that's a cool thing. But I think in the 80s they just kind of learn how to streamline it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they
And they definitely got more metal. They got more heavy.
They
in
deliberately went more commercial.
That's true, but they also got heavier though.
And
too.
I love
Yeah.
I love all of Scorpions.
Yeah.
You know, definitely like as the later stuff came along, like I remember like not digging Crazy World as much.
That was the last album I remember really loving from the Scorpions is Crazy World. And then I think they did one
Yeah.
after that. It was okay. I can't remember what the one came out. after that
Oh,
was.
so the ballad on that one, where Klaus Meine whistles.
Wind of Change.
Yeah, I never need to hear that fucking song again.
That was a massive hit for them. I can't believe how big a hit. But
I
because that was
know,
also
but-
lined up perfectly with the fall of the Berlin Wall and
Right.
stuff, and they're from Germany, and it was kind of, it was
And
it
that's
was more about the
fine, but-
culture and the zeitgeist of that time as well.
Yeah,
The song
that's
objectively is not
fine.
that great a song.
Yeah,
but
I just don't want to. And you know what? Like, let's see what they think about that Wind now. Anyway,
that being said, I also have long established that I'm against whistling in songs. No one should ever whistle in
agreed.
songs.
Agreed.
That's just not okay. It's not okay, Klaus.
and no whistle policy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you did Love Drive and you did Blackout and Love at First Sting,
Yeah.
so I'm going to forgive it this time.
Udo Dirkschneider doesn't whistle.
Yeah, there's no whistling in that. He puts his balls to the walls like a good German.
Fuck you, like a good London leather boy.
Yeah, exactly right. Like as fast as a shark, he does it. I'm telling
That's
you that.
right.
You know? But no, I think that's a band that evolved. But just anytime you do that, yes, another band that does the same thing. They evolved in the 80s, and then they kind of went
Well,
back.
they were proggy, so they had room to evolve.
That's true, but they got much
They were-
more.
they were a prog
They got
band.
heavier and more streamlined in the 80s, and then more rock in the 80s, and then they kind of went back to the more proggy thing. But anytime you do anything like that, you're going to definitely alienate a certain percentage of your fan base. If it's, this doesn't sound like Close to the Edge, it's like, well, okay. But then you get these new fans over here, and then if you change from that back to the old way, then the people who are the new fans are going to bitch about that. So to me, the best thing to do is if you're a musician, just do what you want to do, and
Right.
don't just be authentic. That's what Rush did. Be authentic. Just do what you would do. That's true
Do
to
what you want to do, as long as it's what everyone else tells you to.
Good advice. Good advice.
Sorry,
for
I
finding
stole
yourself.
that from South Park. Yeah, there's the episode where they do the spoof on High School Musical. Like
Wait a
there's-
minute. South Park did a spoof episode?
Yeah, I know. Can you believe it?
I can't imagine.
I know. There's like the kid in school who is all into musicals and stuff, and all the girls are all like, hot for him.
Uh-huh.
And they find out it's because he like does like High School Musical type stuff. So then all of a sudden, the whole school's doing like breaking into High School Musical
Oh,
numbers.
good lord.
And by the time the boys finally like learn how to do it, like the kid joins the basketball team, and then like no one wants to
Be the
do
musical
it.
thing.
Yeah, they just want to go watch the kid play basketball.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
pretty hilarious.
It's true. It's absolutely. That's good advice for everybody. That you should just do. What was it again?
Do what you want to do, as
long
long
as
as it's what everyone else tells you to.
Can't argue with that. That's the sound logic. It is.
That's
It's like-
right.
Yeah. I don't know. That's something I've always found annoying. To me, at the end of the day, is the music good or not? That's what I give a shit about the most about it. Period. All of it. I don't care about your politics. I don't care about what your message is. Is your music good or is
To a
it not
degree.
good?
I mean, yeah.
And I don't care about whether you're totally hip on TikTok right now or if you have it trending on X or whatever. I don't care about that either. Is your music good or not? That's all I care. That's literally chapter verse. That's all I give a shit about. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I mean, I can't think of any particular. I definitely know that when the Michael Jackson stuff like came out, like
Oh, you're not like the molestation thing.
right. Well, I mean, after the documentary with that was on HBO, right? Like, I remember telling the cover band that I was playing in, like, I'm not going to play Michael Jackson songs anymore.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
Like, I'm fucking done, right?
yeah, that's true. I get it. I get it, man. So that's the age-old art and artist separation thing.
But you know what? Like, "Beat It" is a song that's so like near and dear to my heart. Like, that was important to me as a kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, you didn't know.
It's tough.
You didn't know that what was going on. You just thought he was
No,
a
not at
pop
all.
star. You know what I mean? It's, Diddy's going through that right now.
Yeah, but see, Diddy was never good at music.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really don't.
For
give
some
a
reason,
shit.
people think he was, though. I always find that really baffling. It's like, okay, he was never good at music.
I mean,
though.
at least he stole Police songs.
And
I mean,
Jimmy Page too. He did like the cover with
Right.
Was it the da 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 da?
yeah, when the levee breaks.
No, it's not.
Or,
Levy,
no, it's Cashmere.
Cashmere. Yeah,
Sorry,
he
Cashmere,
stole
yeah.
Cashmere and made a rap song out of it. That's
So
happened, people. That's a thing that happened.
So at least
it happened,
at
and
least
we
the
let
guy-
it happen.
Well,
okay?
so at least the guys in Zeppelin got royalties, and that I'm okay with that because at least it exposed new people to those bands, right?
yes, but it was not
Like some percentage would.
Some percentage of them thought this was like something that Diddy wrote because Diddy's a
It's
genius.
you know what?
I
It's
mean?
it's better than just trap beats and mumbling.
I guess.
Because
I'd rather
at
have.
least the original artist gets some royalties.
Can we sign up for none of that happening and just more Led Zeppelin? That'd been cool too.
Well, I mean, the Zeppelin guys are. Well, we don't have all four of
No,
them.
this is back in the
anymore, and-
'90s, though. They could have
Well,
totally
we
gotten.
still didn't have all
They could have
four of
gotten
them.
Jason on drums and then gone to do some kick. They're still. Page is still a great.
Didn't they
guitar-
try to-
No, they only did one song. They had one concert. They did the
Okay.
Celebration Day in was it 2007 or something? And then they did one concert.
So they celebrated for that day.
Fuck, is that really? Is that right? 2007? Is that the one? Is that what happened? I
Yeah,
feel like
but-
it was maybe more new than that.
I don't know. It's all becoming a cloud to me in my old age.
I can't believe it. That was fucking 18 years ago. And that seems like I remember that happening and thinking, oh my God, Zeppelin's playing. I remember they made a big deal about like I guess the tickets for the Wembley Arena like sold out in like 5 seconds or something like that. And,
Q2 arena.
whatever it was, but
Whatever it's called.
whatever the
The
European
O2 arena.
whatever the European arena they were playing in, it sold out like immediately because it
The
was like.
fish and chips arena.
But I mean, and then did you see that at all? Did you ever watch any footage of that?
No, I mean, I remember being aware of it, but I mean, I'd rather just watch The Song Remains the Same.
I'd rather see any. I got a DVD box set for Christmas like 15 years ago. Or whatever.
Oh, I remember DVDs.
But it was like way back. It was like 2008. I want to say 2007, something like that. And they had like a bunch of rare footage of Zeppelin from back in the day, like all the stuff. It was basically everything they had. It was
Sick.
live, and so I watched that and I thought it was great. But Song Remains Saints, I don't need to see their fantasy sequences. I
Man.
don't want to see them. I don't want to see them. Swords and
Yeah.
sorcerers and crap like that. That's lame.
There doesn't need to be another Sergeant Pepper's.
Yeah, it's really
No.
weird and stupid. And they should have never done that.
Like if you're gonna watch something weird and stupid from a band, just watch like Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park, or Kiss in Attack of the Phantoms.
Yeah, it's so terrible. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that when Zeppelin played, though, I remember watching, it was on, I think, a HD net or whatever. I saw it on TV later, like much later. And I remember just looking at it, other than Plant and Bonham, Page was just going through the motions, man. He was just like, it was like
Yeah.
sloppy and all over the place. And he wasn't like playing anything with precision. And
Well,
Yeah.
he wasn't never the most like precise.
I thought
player,
that
but-
too, but I remember on that box set I got, I remember seeing some stuff when he was like in his 20s, and he was freaking ripping, dude. And I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know Page could play that accurately. I'd never had heard him play
Nice.
like that before. There's some stuff he was ripping on this like freaking the Dan Electro guitar. And he was like just sitting there warming up before like a solo or something, like when he was playing live, and he was like shredding, dude. I was like, holy crap!
Nice.
I didn't know Page could play like that. I'd never heard him play like that, not in my whole life. You know what I mean? And
That's great.
And so I thought that too. I thought, he's always just been a sloppy mess, but no, he could play if he was sober enough and
it's the
cared.
being hammered part.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. But I assume he wasn't hammered at the O2 or whatever it was. So
Oh, probably not.
so-
I love Jimmy Page. I'm not trying to like.
but there's just the lack of. It's just sort of like, hey, you guys should all be super happy that you're in the same room with Jimmy Page attitude. That was kind of. It wasn't like I'm going to show you guys that I still got it. It was more like, yep, I'm Jimmy Page. Everyone should just be really happy they're in the same room with Jimmy Page.
I showed up,
Yeah,
paid
yeah,
me.
yeah, exactly right. It was that kind of attitude. And I was so disappointed. I'm like, oh,
I'm Jimmy Paid.
yeah, bazinga. No, but Plant brought it as well as he could as an old man, and John Paul Jones brought it, and then freaking Jason Bonham was like sick happy, like, oh my god, I'm in Zeppelin.
Yeah,
you just see
totally.
like that was just like dripping off of him. You know what I mean? And
Totally that and Sweat.
Sweat is true.
Yes.
But that being said, Page was like the one that stood out to me as like the guy who just like was not bringing it. You know what I mean? And it's. I was so
it's
sad,
gotta be-
disappointed. You know,
I mean, dude, it's got to be tough.
that
You
you
know?
mean
Like, I mean,
being
he
Jimmy
had to at
Page?
least be what in his like 60s.
Yeah, like late 60s. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I don't even know if I'm gonna live to my 60s.
But dude, Plant was in the same age, and he was bringing it, as best he could for his age. You know what I mean? And then Plant's got a job where his body's going to affect him way more, like trying to sing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
people are different. I don't know. Who knows?
it was really more like the attitude was much more like sort of like,
So that's where you got to really give it up to Queen.
How so?
Give it up to Brian May. He still brings it.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
like, totally brings
Totally
it.
does. And then Jeff Beck brought it to the last day he was alive. You know what I
Right,
mean?
totally.
That never, ever. And Clapton's still great, too. I mean, he's still great at what he does. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like, what he does isn't the most strenuous.
But he still brings it. He still plays like Eric Clapton. You know what I mean?
if he would just keep his if he would just keep his mouth shut about any topic.
Sure.
ever.
But that being said, he's still a great guitar player. And he still does it.
Yeah.
I've saw...
He's himself. Yeah.
I mean, he shows up and plays like what you expect Eric Clapton to play like. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that's cool. I respect that. But Page was just like such a shadow of what he was. I was just like going... Like, well, what's up, dude? Like, do you just not give a shit about this anymore? I mean, you clearly must care. I mean, this is like a big deal. Everyone in the world's buzzing about this concert. You know?
I'll have to check it out so I have the same frame of reference.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was very disappointing to me. I remember thinking like,
So, some bands should just hang it up. We talked about that, should just hang it up. But, so in terms of evolving, some bands can evolve and some bands
I guess I always
can't.
assume that if you wanted, like, that's just me assuming if you wanted to like put work in becoming a better musician, you could evolve if you wanted to. I should have thought about that. This is AC/DC.
Yeah.
This isn't going to happen here. You know what I mean? It's
sometimes
if you haven't learned anything new in 45 years, you're probably not going to. Now that I'm 70, I'm going to really start practicing.
Yes.
Now that I have all the money and fame in the world, I should really try and become good at playing guitar.
Right. Or I could get on my private jet and fly to my island.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
What a weird world I'm living in my brain. Like, you should really try and really grow as a player.
Well, that's why you got to give it up to Glenn and KK.
That's true. And dude, I'll say this: Eddie Van Halen brought it right to his last show. And like, was it 2015? The last show Van Halen played at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah,
fucking killed it, man. He was right on the money that last show. You know what I mean? And so
he was right on the Eddie money.
He was. Well, no, that was different. That happened later. Who also no longer is with us.
I know.
Yeah.
Eddie Money, what a great catalog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, we're at the mourning the dead portion of the podcast. So
it was always going to lead here, Ryan. You know it was always going to lead here. Okay, so does relevancy matter in a word?
Does relevancy matter? Well, matter to what?
Is it just nonsense, or should we worry about whether this band's musically relevant?
Well, it's just about followers.
So does that matter or not?
Well, if you're the artist and you want to make money, it is.
But that's what I know that
does it
followers
matter?
is fleeting. That's going to be.
I mean, look, I'm sure there's someone or some people out there who've made some music that I would fucking love that I will never hear.
Oh, for sure, I guarantee that. Oh
right?
my god, yeah.
It's like all the people that haven't heard Ex Aegis yet.
Yeah, those poor bastards.
I know. They should go to our website.
You know what they should do is they should go to xaegisband.com.
They should. That's www.exaegisband.com.
Yep, and then they can find our social media links and follow us on social media to find out about things about this podcast and about the new album releases and any things that Ryan and I are doing in the teaching world or any other releases like of my solo band or anything like that. They can find out all that stuff on that social media link. And please make sure to like, rate, and subscribe to this podcast. That'd be really helpful too. And you'll find out, and you won't miss the next Ex Aegis release. That way, we will not have that big hole in your heart that would be there. So
that's right. And then that will help make us more relevant, and that will make you relevant, and we'll all be relevant together.
And then we can throw poo at the kiddos and their TikToking and whatnot.
Well, I didn't know that we were steering towards throwing poo, but
well, if it's good enough for orangutans, I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, we're all apes.
I just think that's elitist. If you're saying like, oh, what, you think you're better than an orangutan?
Well, I agree with you on that one, but yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Catch you next time. Hey, and see you next time. Good.
Peace.